The human envoy stood alone at the center of the vast ceremonial hall. Feeling smaller with every breath he took, the ceiling rose so high it vanished into shadow. And the walls were carved with symbols of victories humans could not even understand. This empire had ruled star systems long before humans learned how to leave their own planet, and everyone knew it. Humans were allowed here, but only barely. Treated like fragile guests who could be crushed if they stepped wrong. He reminded himself to stay calm. He had memorized every rule, every movement. Every warning given to him before the mission. Do not speak unless told. Do not look directly at royalty. Do not change posture during a ritual. Most of all, do not trust the translator fully. The envoy adjusted the small device near his ear and swallowed hard. His hands trembled, but he kept them still as the alien court watched him in silence. Rows of armored guards lined the hall, their weapons glowing with quiet power. Their eyes never left him, not even for a second. This meeting was supposed to be simple. He would greet the Empire, offer peace, and return home alive if luck stayed with him. That was all humanity wanted, survival. The ritual began with a low hum that shook the floor beneath his boots. A signal light flashed, meaning it was his turn to speak. The envoy leaned forward slightly, just as he was instructed. The translator displayed the phrase, clearly, I come. In peace, he repeated the words exactly as shown, careful with tone and timing. The sound echoed across the hall in a sharp, unfamiliar language. The hum stopped. The air itself seemed to freeze. For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. The envoy felt his stomach drop. Something was wrong. He did not know what, but he could feel it in the sudden weight of silence pressing down on him. One guard shifted position, then another. Weapons rose, in perfect unison, aimed directly at the human envoy. Energy fields sparked to life, bathing the hall in harsh light. The envoy's heart began to race. His mind searched for mistakes. Posture correct. Words correct. Timing correct. The translator showed no error. Still, every alien I burned into him, with a mix of shock and disbelief. He tried to speak again, but his throat felt dry. Before he could say anything, a deep sound rolled across the hall. A single step echoed, then another. The alien queen stood. She was taller than any being he had seen, her presence commanding without effort. Her crown was not made of metal, but living crystal that shifted with color and light. The entire court lowered their heads instantly, including the guards. Only the human remained standing, frozen in fear. The queen walked forward slowly, each step measured and calm. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes held ancient focus. She stopped a short distance from the envoy and looked directly at him. The translator struggled for a moment, then stabilized. When she spoke, the words carried power, not volume. Your proposal has been heard. The envoy felt the world tilt. Proposal. That word made no sense before he could react. The queen raised one hand, silencing the court. I accept, she said. A wave of gasps moved through the hall. Some aliens recoiled. Others looked furious. The guards froze again, uncertain whether to protect or attack. The envoy's thoughts crashed into each other. Proposal? Accept. Marriage? His eyes flicked to the translator, which now flashed warning symbols far too late. In alien culture, the phrase he had spoken did not mean peace. It meant a formal request to bond with royalty. A marriage offer made before the entire empire. The envoy's legs felt weak. He realized he had just changed the fate of humanity with a single sentence. He had not offered peace. He had offered himself. The queen turned back, toward her throne, already issuing commands. Preparations were ordered, records were sealed, and the court slowly began to move again. The guards lowered their weapons, but their eyes never left the human. As the envoy was gently escorted away, his mind raced with one terrifying truth. He had just proposed to the most dangerous being in the galaxy, and she had said yes. If you are enjoying this story so far, gently consider subscribing to the channel so you do not miss what happens next. The human envoy expected chains. He expected a dark cell, cold walls, and silence before execution. Instead, he was guided through glowing corridors lined with living light. The guards walked beside him, not behind. Their weapons lowered but ready. Every step confused him more. Royal chambers opened before his eyes, vast and elegant, filled with calm colors and slow-moving air. This was not a prison. This was a place reserved for honored beings. He was given clean garments, food prepared for his species, and time to rest. Nothing about this felt like mercy. It felt like preparation. When the alien queen arrived, there was no announcement, no guards shouted, no alarms sounded. She simply entered, and the room seemed to recognize her presence. She did not sit at first. She studied the human quietly, as if reading something written beneath his skin. Her face showed no anger, no warmth, only focus. You believe you made a mistake, she said calmly. The translator worked perfectly this time. The human nodded quickly. Yes, it was an accident, he said, his voice shaking despite his effort. I did not know what the words meant. The queen listened without interruption. When he finished, she tilted her head slightly. A gesture of thought, not doubt. In my species, she said, marriage is not spoken lightly. There are no jokes, no accidents, no excuses. A proposal is law. The weight of her words pressed down on him harder than any weapon. The human felt his chest tighten. I did not mean disrespect, he said. I came to protect my people. That answer caught her attention. Not his fear, not his apology, but his reason. She circled him slowly, her footsteps silent. Your species is fragile, she said. Your bodies break easily. Your worlds burn easily. The human lowered his eyes, knowing this was true. Yet, she continued, but you stood alone in my court. You spoke before warriors who have ended civilizations. You did not flee when weapons were raised. He swallowed. I had no choice, he said honestly. The queen stopped walking. Exactly, she replied. She saw something the others did not. Not strength of body, but strength of will. Outside the chamber, the empire trembled. The court was in chaos. Alien nobles argued fiercely. Some demanded the human be executed. Others claimed the queen was insulting their bloodline by accepting such a bond. They spoke of tradition, of purity, of dominance. They saw humanity as weak, insignificant, temporary. The queen listened to all of it without reaction. Then she silenced them with a single command. The engagement will continue, she declared. Her voice carried authority that allowed no challenge. Gasps followed, then anger, then fear. One noble dared to question her reason. Why bind yourself to a lesser species? They asked. The queen answered simply, because lesser does not mean harmless. She returned to the human and spoke clearly. This bond is not for love, it is for observation. The word echoed in his mind. Observation. You will remain, she continued. You will be watched, tested, and studied. If you are weak, this ends. If you are dangerous, she paused, letting the silence do the work, then the galaxy must know. The human felt fear, but also something unexpected, resolve. He realized she was not mocking him, she was measuring him. As he was escorted back to his chambers, the whispers followed. Some spoke of doom, others of change. The queen watched from afar, her expression unreadable. She had accepted the proposal not as a mistake, but as an opportunity. This human, fragile and small, might be more dangerous than he appeared. News of the engagement moved faster than any ship. Across star systems, screens lit up with the same image. A human standing beside the alien queen, small and fragile in comparison, yet alive. Other alien races reacted with shock. Some laughed in disbelief. Some felt anger. Most felt fear they could not explain. Humans had always made the galaxy uneasy, not because they were strong, but because they survived things that should have ended them. No empire could point to a great human conquest. No records showed humans ruling others. Yet every race that tried to control them had fallen apart. Later, slowly, quietly, the queen understood this pattern, even if others ignored it, so she began the tests. They were not physical. No blades, no combat, no displays of strength. Instead, she brought the human into rooms filled with pressure, silence, and choice. The first test was simple on the surface. He was shown to distant human colonies. Only one could be protected from an incoming disaster. The queen asked him to choose. The human studied the data quietly. Then he asked a question no one expected. How can we warn both? He said. The queen told him there was no time. The human nodded, then suggested sharing resources between the colonies. Even if it meant both would suffer, they would survive together. The queen did not comment. She only recorded the answer. The next test was harder. He was given authority over alien prisoners who once attacked human ships. The queen expected revenge, or fear. Instead, the human ordered fair treatment. Not kindness, not cruelty, justice. Pain does not create peace, he said simply. Memory does. The court whispered. Some called it weakness. The queen watched. The pressure increased. He was isolated, questioned without rest. Surrounded by beings who saw him as less than nothing. They tried to provoke anger, pride, fear. Each time, he responded the same way. Calm, honest, human. When asked why humans still fought after losing so much, he answered, because giving up hurts more than trying. When asked why humans protect each other instead of ruling others, he said, because we know how it feels to be alone. Slowly, patterns formed. The queen began reviewing human history, deeper than any empire ever had. Not battles, not weapons, but recovery. She saw ruined cities rebuilt by hands instead of machines. She saw enemies turned into allies over time. She saw humans influence trade, culture, and thought wherever they went. Every species that tried to enslave humans collapsed later, not from rebellion, not from war, but from change. Humans worked inside systems. They questioned laws. They shared ideas. They made people doubt cruelty without ever forcing them to. The Queen realized something unsettling. Humanity did not destroy empires. It outgrew them. During the final test, she faced him directly. If given power, she asked, "What would you do?" The human did not answer quickly. "I would limit it," he said, "because power ends when one mind holds it alone." That answer stayed with her. The court continued. To resist, they demanded the tests stop. They feared what the human represented. The Queen ignored them. For the first time, she felt something close to respect, not for his body, not for his title, but for the quiet strength that refused to break. Humanity was never conquered because it could not be owned, and standing before her was proof. The moment the announcement reached the wider galaxy, everything changed. Screens across distant worlds displayed the same impossible message. A human was engaged to the alien queen. For some species, it was an insult. For others, it was a warning. For Earth's enemies, it was an opportunity. They spoke in secret councils and shadowed halls. They claimed the engagement was not an accident. They accused humanity of deception, of manipulation, of ambition hidden behind weakness. How else could a fragile species bind a queen? They asked. They ignored fear and replaced it with anger. An alliance formed quietly at first. Old rivals put aside hatred, not to rule the galaxy, but to erase one small blue planet before it could matter. Earth, the plan was simple and cruel. If the marriage was completed, Earth would gain protection under imperial law. If it failed, Earth would stand alone. The alliance chose speed over caution. They would strike before vows could be sealed. The human learned the truth by accident. A broken data stream, a whispered warning from an alien technician who had begun to doubt his own empire. He sat alone in his chamber as the message repeated itself. Attack routes, timelines, casualty projections. Numbers too large to feel real. The Queen summoned him. Without delay, her presence was colder than before, more distant. "The galaxy moves against your world," she said calmly. "There is no misunderstanding." She explained the law without emotion. If the engagement ended, Earth would be declared unprotected. If the marriage succeeded, Earth would fall under imperial shield. Then she offered him a choice. "You may leave," she said. "No pursuit, no punishment. You will live." The translator did not soften her words. "Your people may not." The human felt the weight of it settle into his chest. If he escaped, he would survive. He could warn Earth, maybe by time, but time was not protection. He asked one question. "If I stay," the Queen met his eyes. "Then you accept every consequence," she replied. The court waited. Nobles watched with thin smiles. They expected fear, they expected retreat. Humans always ran when survival was offered. That was what they believed. The human thought of his planet, crowded cities, loud arguments, small kindnesses, people who would never know his name. He remembered what he had told the Queen. That humans survived together. "I will stay," he said. The room shifted, not loudly, but deeply. Some nobles reacted, with anger, others with concern, a few with silence. That meant calculation. The Queen studied him longer this time. "You understand what this means?" she said. "Yes," he replied. From that moment, the alliance accelerated its plans. Fleets moved, weapons charged. Earth remained unaware. Within the empire, tension grew, guards doubled, security tightened. The human was no longer a guest. He was a line in the sand. The Queen issued orders that surprised even her own commanders. Defensive positions were adjusted. Observation fleets were deployed toward Earth's system. Not openly, not yet. The human spent sleepless cycles staring into space, knowing his presence alone delayed destruction. He was afraid, but fear no longer controlled him. He had chosen. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Alliance prepared to burn a world somewhere else. A queen prepared to change the rules. And standing between them was a human who refused to leave. The trial was announced across the Empire and beyond. Not hidden, not private, but open to the entire galaxy. The human stood once again in the Great Hall, this time not as a guest, not as an envoy, but as the subject of judgment. Above him, massive viewing structures activated. Countless alien worlds tuned in. Some watched with anger, some with curiosity. Many with quiet hope they would never admit. The charge was simple. Humanity must justify its right to survive. The court demanded strength, proof of dominance, evidence of value. The human was given no armor, no symbols, no protection, only a place to stand, and a single chance to speak. He felt the pressure immediately, not just from the hall, but from billions of eyes across the stars. The queen watched silently from her throne, her expression unreadable, her presence heavy with expectation. The human began slowly. Not loudly, not dramatically. "We are not perfect," he said. The words surprised the court. They expected defense, not admission. He spoke of human wars, of nations, tearing themselves apart, of fear ruling decisions, of mistakes repeated too often. Screens across the galaxy showed human history as it truly was. Cities burning, borders drawn in blood, promises broken. Some alien viewers nodded in satisfaction. This was weakness. Then the human continued. We argue, he said. We fail. We hurt each other. He paused, letting the silence work. But we rebuild. Images shifted. Ruins turned into homes. Broken communities standing again. Hands helping hands. He spoke of kindness, of strangers saving strangers, of humans choosing sacrifice. When no one was watching, we never stopped trying, he said. Even when the cost is high, the pressure increased. The court tested him with questions. Why should a flawed species live? Why not erase the problem early? The human answered without anger. Because flaws are how we grow. He did not claim humans were special. He claimed they were persistent. Across the galaxy, reactions changed. Some alien viewers shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned closer. The Queen watched carefully. She noticed something the others missed. He was not asking for mercy. He was offering truth. He admitted humans were fragile, physically weak compared to many species, but emotionally resilient. We lose, he said, and we stand back up. That sentence echoed longer than any threat ever could. The court grew restless. Some nobles demanded the trial end. They sensed the mood changing. The human spoke one final time. We do not conquer because we know what it feels like to be conquered. That struck deeper than any weapon. The Queen's attention sharpened. In that moment, she understood. Humans were not builders of empires. They were builders of recovery. Across the stars, alien viewers began questioning themselves, their systems, their traditions, their cruelty hidden behind strength. The trial ended not with a verdict, but with silence. A silence filled with thought. The Queen stood slowly, her voice carried without effort. This species is flawed, she said, but it endures. She looked at the human, not as a subject, but as proof. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as a threat, but as a mirror, and that unsettled them more than any war ever could. The chamber was silent when the Queen dismissed the court. No guards remained, no observers, no hidden screens. Only the Queen and the human stood facing each other, separated by distance that felt heavier than any wall. This is the final test, she said at last, her voice calm but carrying weight. There will be no witnesses. The human straightened, feeling the tension settle deep inside him. He had faced pressure before, but this felt different, more personal, more dangerous. I did not accept your proposal by accident, the Queen continued. The words struck him harder than any accusation ever had. She walked slowly, each step measured. I allowed the translator error, she said. I let the moment unfold. The human's breath caught. You planned it? He said quietly. Yes, she replied without shame. My empire is strong. My fleets are feared, but strength alone. Eyes he turned toward the stars visible beyond the chamber. I have ruled beside warriors, she said. They brought conquest. They brought silence. They did not bring balance. She faced him again. I needed to know if a being could stand beside me, without power, without fear, without hunger for control. The human understood then. This had never been about tradition, or insult, or accident. It was about choice. You have stood before death, the Queen said. You have been offered escape. You have carried the fate of your world without demanding reward. Her eyes narrowed slightly. That is equality. She raised one hand, and a symbol appeared in the air. Between them, an official release, a declaration that could end everything. The Queen issued orders that surprised even her own commanders. You may walk away now, she said. No war, no marriage, no protection. If you leave, she continued, I will not pursue you. The galaxy will decide Earth's fate on its own. The human stared at the symbol. Freedom. Survival for himself. No more weight. No more responsibility. His hands trembled. Not from fear, but from understanding what walking away would mean. He thought of Earth again. Not as a prize, not as a weakness, but as home. I did not come here to save myself, he said softly. The Queen watched closely. This was the moment she had waited for. Stay, the human said. Not because you are a queen, not because of power, but because peace needs someone willing to stand still when others run. The silence that followed felt endless. The Queen did not answer immediately. She searched his face, his posture, his voice. There was no ambition there, no hunger, no lie. At last, she lowered her hand, and the release faded. Then I choose you, she said, not as an announcement, not as a command, but as a decision. You are not a symbol, she continued. You are not leverage. You are a partner. The human exhaled slowly, realizing only now how tightly he had been holding himself. Together, beyond the chamber, alarms did not sound, weapons did not fire, but across the galaxy, something shifted. The Queen had made her choice. not based on power, but on will, and for the first time in generations, the future of the galaxy was not being shaped by force, but by two beings who chose restraint instead. The ceremony did not look like a fairy tale. There were no songs, no celebration meant for joy, only order, meaning, and consequence. The human stood beside the alien queen in the same great hall where everything had begun. This time, he was not alone. He was not small, he was not ignored. The galaxy watched again, but the feeling was different now. Not anger, not mockery, but attention. The marriage was completed with ancient words that carried law across star systems. It was not spoken as love, it was spoken as bond, as promise, as alliance. When the final phrase was declared, the hall did not erupt, it went quiet. The kind of silence that follows, history changing. In that moment, Earth became protected space. Not by weapons, not by threat, but by law that could not be ignored. Signals moved faster than fear, attack fleets slowed, then stopped, then turned away. The alliance that planned Earth's destruction collapsed before firing a single shot. Some withdrew in shame, others in confusion. A few in quiet relief. Humans across Earth did not cheer immediately, they watched in disbelief. A single human standing beside the most powerful ruler in the galaxy. Slowly, respect replaced fear, not because humans had grown stronger, but because they had been understood. The queen did not wait long to act. She summoned representatives from every major empire, not as a ruler demanding obedience, but as a leader enforcing balance. Galactic law was rewritten, not softened, not adjusted, but changed. No species may enslave another. No culture may claim superiority through force alone. No empire may erase a weaker world for convenience. There was resistance, there was anger, but there was no turning back. The queen spoke clearly. Strength without restraint is decay. Survival without dignity is failure. Many empires struggled with this truth. Some would fall, some would change. The human stood beside her. Not speaking, his role was finished. Yet his presence said everything. Later, alone in a quiet chamber, he looked at a distant image of Earth. Small, blue, fragile, still arguing, still struggling. He realized how close it had come to ending, all because of a single sentence spoken in the wrong language, or maybe the right one. He did not feel pride, he felt relief, and a strange sense of responsibility. Humanity did not gain control of the galaxy, it gained something harder to earn, a place. The queen watched the stars and spoke quietly. Your species does not rule. The human nodded. Humanity does not rule the galaxy. Humanity changes it.